Okay, everybody, I believe we are live. Okay, I'm already getting yes that we are live. So you'll see that there's a few second delay. I am in the command center.
Okay.
This is going to be a little scary tonight. So we're going to see if we actually come up. Do you guys see it yet? Do you see the room?
I'm pulling up the Facebook right now. I'm sorry, the YouTube link right now to see if we're showing up.
Oh, there we are. Oh, magic. It is magic. It's amazing what happens. Okay, so I believe I need to do one more thing. There we go. Okay, Mike will be happy now because it actually has full screen. So hello, everybody. Welcome to the Inner Riches. And it's ladies night. And so I'm going to let everybody go around the room and introduce themselves. So I am K-Pro. This is my old channel that used to be the Raven's Nest. We renamed it to the Hint of Riches. So shout out to Mike, who's taking the night off. He's relaxing. Ladies, if you're on his Facebook, you know what that means. And so I am the other, yeah, Mike's in the room saying, ladies. So we're going to talk all things Forrest Fenn Treasure Hunt. But I want everybody to introduce themselves first. So over to you, Sassy.
My name is Sherry Skanes, and I'm in Indiana currently. And I'm also known online as Sassy, or The Sassy. And that's all.
I was going to say, and she's a highly esteemed treasure hunter who's won the David Blaine $100,000 treasure hunt. So all of us that say we're treasure hunters, she's actually won one.
Am I too loud?
The room will probably say that, but no, you sound fine to me. Over to Terry from Texas.
Hi, guys. I'm Terry. I live in College Station, Texas. I'm a relatively new searcher. Just kind of casually got into it about a year ago, but I got the books this summer, and now I am just completely obsessed with it. So I'm definitely more on the side of still trying to catch up all the interviews, all the scrapbooks, definitely. But still, like I said, consider myself pretty new. This is my first search season.
Excellent. And then over to Jana. Jana's in the house.
Am I?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Mine's not working as well. Hi, everybody. I'm Jana. I'm J, Minnesota. Minnesota. I have found a few treasures more locally around Minnesota, Wisconsin, and just branching out into the U.S.
Excellent. So I got to meet Jana at the Function in the Junction this last year, her and her husband. And I'm going to meet Sassy at the Detroit meetup in just a couple weeks. So we do meetups everywhere. And Terry, I haven't met you yet. So hopefully this next year, we're going to meet up.
I hope next season I get to do all the fun meetups and stuff.
Excellent. Yes. Okay. So we are going to jump into hard-hitting content. There's a couple things that we want to do tonight. So for the people that answered the OSOs, there's a lot of tubers. We did it's off-season opinions about what does the scrapbooks mean. For those of you that know me well enough, I got this up and running. That's as far as my technical expertise is going to take us. So we are not going to bring up every other tuber's channel. Go to the other tubers' channels and see those. I will say the majority believe that they do not hold hints. They hold insight into Forrest, and they may be trying to communicate something specific, but it's not a specific clue. But I did want to give everybody on the roundtable panel here, what do you think? So the question was, we gave it out a week or two ago. What is the reasons for the scrapbooks? Do you believe that there are flat out hints, clues, ways to decipher the poem and actually solve the poem based on the scrapbooks? That's one end. The other end is they mean nothing. And then somewhere in between, they give us some hints. Maybe they point to something relevant, somewhere in between. So we're going to go over to Sassy first.
Well, I think probably the first 200 scrapbooks were useless.
Oh.
But I think beginning with this latest rash of this bombardment of scrapbooks of late, we just finished the 9th hunt season. It's pretty much over. And the 10-year anniversary begins next spring.
Here it comes.
And I think, much like David Blaine did with his hunt, Forrest is just getting a little antsy and maybe would like to see it found. He's, going to be 90. I mean, but yeah, I don't think the first 200 are anything other than entertainment, or they are of use when trying to learn who the man is.
Okay.
The man behind the puzzle, the man behind this hunt. So they're very useful in that, but I don't think they talk to anybody. I don't think they have hints or clues. However, I think that some of them are starting to get a little bit more focused, and I think he eventually is going to, probably early in the spring next year, going to slip out a zinger there in some kind of interview or something. Much like David Blaine did. And to tell you the truth, if it weren't for that hunt that David Blaine put on TV, I never would have found it, because that last clue cinched my location. It really gave me a confirmer that I was on the right track. So
it made you go with confidence. So you were like, I'm ready to go now.
Yeah.
And anybody that gets out in LA traffic, that is a brave woman.
But then I didn't find it after 4 hours and went home and came back.
Okay.
I remembered the tattoo clue and what that meant, and then I went back and got it.
Nice.
And a gazillion other people were there before me, but they didn't apply that last clue.
Or they think they did, and then they sued, and then they lost. But we won't go there tonight. But I so want to pick your brain just on how we think this might end, based on the lawsuits, all of that, based on your experience.
That's all going to happen.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But as far as the scrapbooks go, I think that from about 200 on, they might be starting to get a little bit more significant.
Okay.
I don't think they're real complicated. I don't think there's anything real direct in it. I think it's just like little outlying twinkles that are going to kind of draw you in and eventually focus you to one area.
Okay, so I'm going to put you down as the twinkles. You think there's some twinkles in there?
There's twinkles.
Okay.
From 200.
200. That's really interesting. We'll go back to that. Terry, what do you think?
So I have to say, I know a lot of people have been asking about the frequency that he's been putting out the scrapbooks. And I have kind of heard someone say, like, maybe a couple of seasons ago, he was putting out a lot at the same time. But if that's not the case, if this is the first time that he's put this many out all at once, then I definitely think that there are some type of hints. But I'm not going to say I'm a poem purist, but I hold the poem in very, very high regard. So what I'm looking for when I read the scrapbooks is if there is anything that points back to any keyword or any words from the poem, that would catch my attention. And I would consider that something that we should, he's told us so many times to focus on the poem. But if he's mentioning stuff like in the scrapbooks that refer back to the poem, then I would consider that significant. My big thing that I'm really hung up on right now, and I apologize, I don't have them pulled up, but it has been in the 200 since, like Sassy mentioned, the past several. It has been in the past several that I have noticed he really talks about specific vegetation, different trees, and obviously has made in the past comments about like pinyon, juniper, and stuff like that. So that to me seems to be like a recurring, maybe something that might be important for us to focus on. I definitely think there are hints in the scrapbooks. Not all of them. I think he likes talking to us. I think he likes documenting his life. But I would think that we might be naive if we don't think that he is putting little, hints. We don't know which ones are which, though.
We'll call them twinkles. There's little twinkles to kind of get us going a certain way. I like the term because I like the idea of it's not enough to say a full-blown hint, but enough to say, hey, there's something over here. There's a twinkle light over there. Look that way.
Yeah, so, it's not like the light bulb over your head moment. It's not one of those. It's just kind of like the, oh, looky, maybe that way.
Twinkle. Jana, what do you think?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, you're a little choppy, but we'll keep going.
Okay. So I think that all the scrapbooks do have clues in them. I was overwhelmed by 220, the last one that just came out. There are some that I'm finding in the 60s and the 150s, and I'm at the point now where I am printing out every scrapbook, and basically, you know, I've got it in here, and every single scrapbook, I've got notes next to every single one of them.
Okay,
So-
now I have a quick question. Does anybody else hear the choppiness of Jana, or is it just me?
I hear it.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I
I
do.
just wanted to make sure. Okay. I actually think you might want to take your jacket out and put back in. It looks like there's maybe dust or something. It's like it's crackling. That's a better way to say it. So just to let you know. But we're going to keep going. We hear you well enough. That's okay. Well, so here's a question from the chat room, and I want to add a question as well. Do we think, and actually, Terry, you already answered what William said or asked, do we think there's any common themes? And here's the second piece. Do we think he corrects some of his aberrations? I don't want to say mistakes because, hi, Forrest, I never say that to you. But do we think that he corrects? So he has been seen in the last 5-10 scrapbooks. He corrects some of the inaccuracies, but he doesn't correct some others. So what do the errors mean? And this could also relate to TTOTC, but really focusing on the scrapbooks. He specifically corrects some of the aberrations. So 2 questions. What do you think is the common themes that you've seen lately? And secondly, when he corrects some aberrations but doesn't correct others, does that mean anything to us? Let's go Terry first, and then we'll bounce around the room.
Yeah, I just saw William's question. So like I said, I have not read the first maybe 175 scrapbooks. So I haven't noticed anything, William, or at least the common overlying theme in all of the ones. But the only ones that I was referring to that I had seen a connection or kind of a common theme were the ones, and like I said, I want to say it was like either 209, 211, 213, some of those, but the ones where he specifically talked about specific leaves and plants and stuff that you can only find in certain parts of the Rocky Mountains. So I'm over here like looking up, you know, the maps of where this plant grows, and maybe I shouldn't be focused so much on that, but I do think he could have just said he hit a tree, but why would he specifically name, you know, the type of tree? Maybe that's just something he enjoys doing. But whenever he's being specific, when he didn't necessarily need to be, I've noticed that. As far as a theme with the experiences and the stories, I don't know. I haven't really connected a lot of that. I will say, as far as the errors go, I don't think that's intentional at all. I think if we start trying to analyze, you know, he misspelled this and that, and that's just my personal opinion. I know other people can say like, you know, well, you're obviously not going to catch that if you're not paying attention. But I really do think we have to give him some leeway in that. I'm going to make spelling errors all the time, especially if I'm typing something when I'm excited or I want to get it out quickly. Like the scrapbook on Saturday, he went to the festival that day, and then, I mean, he probably read over it maybe once or twice, but yeah, it was a very quick submission. It wasn't like he was going to sit there.
To follow up to that, though, why does he correct some of them? Like he was talking about, and I have to give a shout out to Sasha. Sasha did a scrapbook analysis, which she really gets into, but she posted something on Harry's that the city was not in, I want to say Arizona, it was in New Mexico or vice versa.
Okay. Yeah.
And he went and he updated it on Dale's site. And he updated that error, but there was misspellings of people's names that he didn't update. So I would think
did he update it, or did
Dale?
Did Dale?
Good question.
I think if it's going to talk about a specific area, I think that was for the story to make sense. He didn't want people to think he had intentionally, you know, led us astray. And so he wanted to correct that. But that's, like I said, that's just my opinion. I know some people do think that he might be trying to, you know, draw our attention to the little errors and stuff. But I don't believe so.
Okay. Over to Jana and then over to Sassy.
Can you repeat the question again?
Yeah. So what do we believe the errors mean? And he corrects some and he doesn't correct some others. And then do we think that there's a certain theme? Like Terry's saying, look at the vegetation. Is there a certain theme that when we look at that twinkle light and we run after that twinkle light, is it what do you think he's maybe trying to tell us with this last set of scrapbooks?
Okay, thank you. I think that we're supposed to, that those mistakes or those unintentional or intentional mistakes are to get us to look deeper, even though he says simplify. I literally think that if you're not going to find this without putting a lot of work into it. And I think that if you, over the winter, don't have the time to do a lot of reading and catching up, that I just think that if you want to be ahead of the game, you have a lot of homework to do. And I think that there's a lot to look into.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about that next, is what do you do in the off season? You're still crackling. Mm-hmm. We're understanding you, but the room is saying, crackle, crackle, you're a robot, crackle. So just to let you know, if this is the best you can get, we're good. Huh?
I'm going to take these off and see if that works.
Okay, over to Sassy. What do you think? So themes, and what do you think aberrations or errors? He corrects some and he doesn't correct others. What do we think?
One of the themes that I'm hypersensitive to, primarily because I'm an artist myself, is art. And I find it interesting that sometimes he gets very specific with the artists, such as birth dates or pieces, the names of pieces, so that you don't get it mixed up with anybody else, right? I also think that sometimes the art has themes in itself that go along with the scrapbook and the artist, because like he did that one guy that does nothing but these overlook gorge paintings. I mean, oh, why him? Why did he pick him? But I don't hold too much to it because, you know, it was his life forever, you know, being an art dealer, and he has a lot to share about that to people that he's pretty convinced don't know a lot about the business. Not that it's going to help you find the hunt, but again, it'll help you understand the man. And then as far as the correcting errors go, you know, there's this thing called human error. And there's not a computer, a supercomputer, or a perfect person running this. So you're going to have Dale making typos. You're going to have Forrest making typos. You're going to have one or the other copying something. And, you know, how that whole thing about the car mirror, you know, if he's taken photos with an iPad, the photo comes out backwards. That's how it works.
The whole mirror, yeah.
Okay. So it's going to be flipped. It's going to be reversed. It's going to look like the passenger side when it's really the driver's side, etc. You know, I doubt Forrest would realize that. I doubt that he's tech savvy enough to understand that. And there might have been this panic of, oh my God, why is my picture turned around? Or what do we do about this? Everybody's read it. Or, I mean, the behind the scenes stuff were just too numerous. It's just, there's human error. Okay. I don't think there's, unless everybody points out an error that is not corrected. If it's not corrected, it's either too trivial to bother with, or it's important. And you have to make that decision yourself. You have to weigh it. But for the most part, I think a lot of that stuff's just human error.
Okay. Themes. So here's for me. Themes, I don't think there's a theme. Dale went up there. Cynthia's outlined in her blog that they all went to dinner. There was pictures. Okay, cool, Jenna. So there was pictures. I don't think there's themes because I thought, oh, Dale is teed up every day. Well, then he put the chili cook-off one in the middle. And I love the people that sent me, it's the Coney Island. It's a shout out to the Coney Island Detroit meetup. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's totally it. I appreciate that because as many people that think it was about the Detroit meetup is as many people that thought it was a shout out to them. I'm all about it. If it makes somebody giddy and happy, I love when he puts that he walks into the chili cook-off, and there was 199 people, because people were like, 199, that confirms my solve. Mike and I told this story before. When we had raised like $18,726, I said to Forrest, can you match, if we get $10,000 more, can you match another 10,000? And he's like, yep, what are you at right now? And we checked the PayPal, and it was like 18,726. And I remember I told him that, and he's like, great, when you're at 28,726, I will match it by 10,000. We put that up. There was at least 10 searchers as like, that number confirms my solve. And it was literally a number from Mike and I. And we don't have the treasure chest, in case you didn't know. And we don't know where the treasure location is. And so I just thought to myself, there is a number for everybody. And I think he's a little scoundrel, a little like rascal, whatever the funny term is to say. I think he likes to throw stuff at us that I'm kitchen sink Kevin. I will go down every rabbit hole when I see a number that fits my solve, or I do put it in GPS. I do put it in the zip codes. Do I think it's actually the case? Probably not. I don't put as much time into, I think other people put a lot of time into the scrapbook analysis. And then I really think it's interesting, but it's not interesting enough that I stop and actually do a lot of research too. Because here's the thing though, when it comes to TTOTC, he had written 9 books before that. I believe he had an editor just like he had on this one. I actually think the aberrations mean something in TTOTC. There's reasons that there are errors. In the scrapbooks, I'm with Sassy. Anything that he throws in, do I see any things? No. I think maybe 6-8 months ago when I was at his house, he had said he had another book that he was teeing up, kind of like Once Upon a While, with just a bunch of stories. And he's like, I don't think I'm going to do that. I actually think these are the chapters in that book that he has decided he is not going to publish. And so we're going to get a ton. And it sounds like Dale is going to come out with a ton. So there was another question by the room before we move over to the topic actually of tonight, which do we think that the doodles or the colors mean anything when it comes to scrapbooks, etc.? Some people, the doodles, I mean, we all just eat them up, but especially the colors, especially Olga. He referenced Olga recently. Is that anything that you guys have said, ooh, that has helped, that twinkle light has helped me and it's given me some clarity and some clue or hint or solve or piece? Sherry, let's start with you.
Well, when it came to the Olga scrapbook, the first thing that I thought it meant was to go back and read that chapter again. I mean, nothing more than that. Okay. Obviously, he wants you to read that chapter for a reason. Maybe there's some hints in there. It's definitely full of aberrations. It's definitely full of oddities. I mean, a 36-inch tab, first, it's not a standard size. Second, why are you telling us it's 36 inches? You don't even tell us anything else about the house that you want to annex, or, how it would fit your equipment, but yet that bathtub's in there 36 inches. So yeah, that's all I think. It's just a kick in the pants to go back and read the chapter that Olga is.
Yeah.
See what you pull out of it. I don't think it's anything more than that.
What do you think, Terry?
I just want to be pretty clear, not just only about the scrapbooks, but I'm going to know as far as the doodles go and stuff like that. I really, really, truly believe that everything you need to find the chest was published at the time that the Thrill of the Chase came out. I mean, I think you have to think about the fact that if Forrest had passed away at that point, with only the first book being published, would he have believed that we had everything we need? And the answer, I think, is yes. So yes, I do think maybe as he starts, and that what I'm saying is like, before the final, the doodles and everything were done with the book. So I don't think those are essential to solving. And honestly, even if there are clues and maybe a few of them, I don't think there are clues in all of them. And so for us to try and pick out which ones are important or not.
Yeah. How do you sift through the sea?
However, when I find stuff like that just I can't let go of, I do write it down in a separate section where I'm like, if I feel like I am confident in a solve one day and that stuff supports it, then it might be like supporting material to be like, confirming that, you're in the right direction. I drew this a certain way, or I included a certain color. I don't know. So
Okay,
I just don't
like
think
that.
I just can't imagine us analyzing every doodle and saying that they're important.
Can I add a follow-up comment there? If Forrest Fenn had died 1 month after he released his hunt, nobody would ever have looked outside of New Mexico, because at that point,
Right.
the only place to look was in New Mexico.
Yep.
I slightly disagree, and you can't hear me, can you?
No,
Yeah.
we can hear you great. There's no crackling.
There's no crackling.
Oh, okay,
My
keep
eyes didn't
going.
light up.
Keep going. Keep going.
I slightly disagree only because when I first got the book and I started reading it, the very first thing, when I sat down back in like 2012-ish, somewhere in there, the very first thing I started thinking of was waterfalls, Colorado, Wyoming, and was more into that area.
But see, by 2012, it was okay. He had already done the Rocky Mountains thing. When it first started in 2010, it was just right up here in the hills north of Santa Fe. There wasn't no Rocky Mountains reference, nothing. The only place to look a month after that book came out was in New Mexico. I'm just saying it because a lot of people bring that up and they say, if you go back to when the hunt first started, then all you need is the book. Well, listen, when the hunt first started, that's all we had was the book and somewhere back up in the hills north of me.
Yeah.
So nobody was looking outside of New Mexico. Nobody was looking at scrapbooks or Too Far to Walk or anything else. That's all we had.
But maybe that's why you didn't find it at that time. Okay, I want to give 2 shout outs before, and I'm going to go right over to Terry. Okay. 2 shout outs. AGK did a great panel, or I don't think it was a panel. I think it was their discussion on exactly this. If there was released and Forrest had passed just after that. And the only reason I remember this, I thought it was so disrespectful. I emailed Forrest and he's like, K-Pro, I'm going to die one day. They're not being disrespectful, which I thought was hilarious. I was like offended on his behalf and he's like, chill, chick. And so and they did a great job of, we wouldn't have these 2 states ruled out. We wouldn't have this ruled out, that they went through everything. And then also the other person is Rick McDonald. He did a video about exactly what you're saying. If we really focus on where he's talking about going at 80 years old, it has to be somewhere nearby. And he did another one that made me really focus on New Mexico for a year. But over to Terry.
I just have to say, while I have totally taken into account what you mentioned, Sassy, because I know that you were involved in the very beginning with it being close to Santa Fe, I'm just, I don't know if I mentioned it during the marathon. I am in the Colorado camp. And I just have to say, it's so fascinating that for whatever reason, people draw the line at the New Mexico-Colorado state line. Southern Colorado is very close to Santa Fe. I just don't understand why people don't.
I don't draw the line at the state line because actually that one theory that's about, Colorado doesn't have any of the warm waters thing going on at all, but yet New Mexico does. So therefore, where warm waters halt could be the Colorado-New Mexico state line. So I don't discount northern Colorado or southern Colorado, but getting up into Wyoming and Yellowstone and
I just think it's so funny that people can be, really dismissive of, you'll hear a lot of times, at least as a new searcher, I have heard a lot of obviously New Mexico searchers and then obviously Montana, Wyoming. Not that it bothers me that people don't talk about searching in Colorado as much, but I do think that its proximity to Santa Fe, it would be significant if that is something you're thinking about as far as him wanting it to be, a large search area, but still closer to home. Because for whatever reason in Colorado, I don't feel like gets like the credit that New Mexico does whenever people are talking about that, about it being close to Santa Fe.
Yeah, part of the reason, though, again, for the New Mexico purists is the fact that a lot of the early publicity and the early interviews and stuff, he was doing it for New Mexico tourism, is what he claimed.
Oh, I didn't think about that.
And they
So-
did that video, and then they were so encouraging with how much economic development happened. Yeah, but I will tell you, Terry, if you ever go to a searcher meetup and you happen to meet John Wayne Bobbitt, and that is the John Wayne Bobbitt that we all know and love,
Yeah.
you will hear more about Colorado than you ever
I've seen some of his posts on Facebook and stuff. So
that
yeah.
does not do it justice until you
Okay.
sit down. And when he says, "Here, let me show you a picture," don't do it for many reasons. He
I
has
know the
had
story.
well, there's a couple stories, but he actually was boots on the ground and he lost part of his foot. And there's the other one, and I did not look at that picture either. But there's a couple pictures. Just look away. Just say no. Just say no.
Away.
Just
Good,
look away.
Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yes, Robert Williams, the actual
There's
drummer.
like a joke in there that I'm just gonna leave.
Yeah. Yeah, there always is. So Janet, did we get to you about this one? I don't know if we did. About the themes and the aberrations.
Nope. So I don't really get anything out of the doodles. I think they're just kind of a fun thing, which is kind of odd coming from me because I think that pretty much almost everything Fenn puts out there is something to listen to, and not to not have fun or listen to the doodles, but they're really, really cute. And I kind of think they're more like, oh, I can draw, like I can only draw stick figures as well. I mean, that's it. I mean, my daughter is this big artist. And so I think it's kind of cute to have like use some hieroglyphs. Just, you know, that he can draw something that he, you know, maybe he could etch it into stone, maybe out there somewhere on a cave wall or something. And somebody would remember that it's his, you know, because it is pretty unique.
Yeah, well, and I've always said, and I think he said this too, and somebody referenced earlier. Yes, William, I saw that before you retracted it. Be good tonight, especially when we talk about John Wayne, who is a very nice man, and he is very open with his situation too. So, but let's be good, guys. He has been clear. I think Forrest is a storyteller, which means I get about 85% right, and then I make a big story out of it. He's like, it's amazing when I say it was a rainy day when I walked into the bookstore, and then people go to the almanac and they see if it was raining and it wasn't, so it's a hint. And he's like, I was telling a story, like, come on. Like, so I think that there is some things that he just kind of helps to sensationalize the story, because if you've ever sat with him or you've ever listening to it is just one thing on a video. He can tell some stories that the room just goes, I mean, it's just awesome. Okay.
But that's what he is, a storyteller. That's part of who he is.
Yes.
But you have to, you know, you have to adjust for artistic license in anything that he says or writes.
Yes.
Because that's part of being a storyteller, is embellishing or exaggerating or toning down or, you know, adjusting things to suit what you're trying to convey. So you can't necessarily take it as fact.
Yeah, when he does the roll eyes, what does that mean? Yeah. Like, I think he's like part actor, but then he's like so sincere. Like, these stories are awesome. We know so many of them are true. So I think it's hilarious to watch. You guys have heard the audios. You know that we kind of go back and forth because he's just, I think it's amazing that he can have so much fun of going, he's the rascal. He's the digging gypsy. He's the old coot. Hey, you old coot. I've never called him that personally. I wouldn't, but I think that hits him exactly. So, okay. So now that we've talked for a few minutes, for 30, about a non-topic, which was the scrapbooks, let's transition into our topic for tonight, which is we're hitting the off season. The off season means we're crashing. We didn't find it. Some at some levels. Now they hate Forrest, or now they do have it, and it's like it's just hidden in their vault or whatever. To, oh, bummer, but I'm going to be here next year. I'm hoping all of us are in the seat of, oh, bummer, I'm going to be here next year. So the first thing is, I'd like to look back on this year. What have we learned? And I'd like you to say how many search seasons you've been out and how many boots on the ground you've been out. And I think it varies dramatically to none to several. Where have you been? And then what did this season do for you in a different way? And it could be Forrest Gut Feeling, the 200-foot searcher, lead searcher, whatever that looks like to you. What did you think or learn or take away from this year different than other years if you've been in the search more than a year? If you haven't, just what did you take from this last year? So let's start with Jana and go back around the room. Jana.
Hey. Okay, so I've been searching not boots on the ground for many, many years. I want to say I got the books in like 11 and 12 and obviously 13. But I got boots on the ground this year. And one of the things that you hear everyone say is that, you look on Google Earth and you can't imagine what it's like to be on the ground. And even this week, I've looked on Google Earth and looked at some of the spots that I was in. I was like, wow, I want to be back in those areas again. They were so beautiful. And you can't see any of that when you're literally looking on Google Maps. I was looking at a sheer mountain area that had a little cave in it. And I was there and it was amazing. And I took photos and video everywhere I go, photos and video. That's a really big thing if you're boots on the ground. Don't just think your mind is going to remember everything. So then I went to look on Google Maps, and there's no way you'd know that there was a cave there. There's no way that you would know that it was, that I was looking 20 feet up and that it was a big mound. So I guess as far as boots on the ground, you got to get out there. You got to see what you're looking at. You can't just go by, I don't know, just like regular maps. That's all.
Okay. Well, and I think there's a difference. Some people call it recon versus boots on the ground. I think that's important to know the difference. I think boots on the ground is when you think you specifically are going to go pick it up. I think recon is important as well. So I think exactly what you're saying. Terry, over to you.
I was doing both, by the way.
Yeah.
I thought that I was following my path, but at the same time, I was making sure that I had it mapped, not just in my mind, but in photography and video.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I've walked away, and I think so many of us have, and we take a picture and we go, ooh, I missed that one little spot. I got to go back next year.
There.
Yeah, over and over.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Over to you, Terry.
So I mentioned earlier, I just really started searching, within the past year. So I had the opportunity to go boots on the ground this fall, or I guess I had the time to, but I'm in Texas, and it actually is really difficult to get up to Colorado on the one weekend. But I found myself on the edge of my seat every weekend watching the Facebook groups, like, oh my gosh, that person looks like they're searching in Colorado. What's going on, And so I definitely think I'll be out there as often as I can come spring and summer. That being said, I think, like Jana mentioned, such good advice too, is that, I could sit here all day and scroll around on Google Earth, and I do enjoy doing that. But I'm not afraid to go boots on the ground with my, first salt. I'm not afraid, to go out there and not find the treasure. Like, I anticipate that. And I don't know that I would plan a whole trip if I didn't have up to at least Homeward Brown that far, and I understand other parts of the end of the poem you have to be on the ground to find. But I think maybe just the experience, like I was just thinking the other day, like, I'm not that you should ever do this, but like, what if, my boyfriend can't come with me and like, I have to go out by myself. Like, could I even carry that back? And I was like, wait, no, never do that.
I did.
Just thinking.
I did.
Yeah.
I went by myself and I put a 42-pound pack. I walked 1 mile. I walked back and I said, Forrest, I'm going. And the only thing that he said, and I'd been conversing with him for a while, and all he said to me is, tell me which time you're going, tell me which time you're coming back in case I have to send Chip. And I was like, okay. And I checked in with him and I'm like, and I'm grumpy at you and I'm mad and I thought I had it and I can't talk to you for a little while, but I'm safe. Thank you. And then I went away for a little bit, but that was me. Because exactly, you have to go. I've gone alone on 2 different of boots on the ground.
Mm-hmm. So, I guess I am mostly thinking for comfort and laziness purposes. But at the same time, I guess in summary, what I've learned from this season, because it was my first season being active on any type of forum or, Facebook groups and stuff like that. As much as I enjoy observing and sharing and communicating with the community, I think it is so important to start on your own off the internet. You know, if you're gonna sit there and just start by trying to read everyone else's theories, you're really gonna, I mean, I see it all the time. People comment and they're like, didn't he say this one time? It's like, well, if you have a specific, you know, timestamp from a video or a link to a quote or anything like that, sure. But if you're just taking in what other people are commenting, you're really going to get overwhelmed really quickly and get stuff mixed up, fact versus opinion.
Yeah.
So just while it is nice to engage with the community, you know, as far as building your solve goes, I think it's so important to just stick to the materials that he gave us, because having that balance, I should say. I do so like enjoy communicating with the community and seeing what everyone shares. But I think that this being my first season, I'm glad that I have that balance going into next season, knowing like, hey, what I work on in the off season is my own and not based off what everyone else seems to think is a big deal or something like that.
Yeah, great. Okay, Sassy.
Well, I started this when it started. And I had a search partner who, she's still my search partner, Kelly, who lives in New Mexico. And she said, hey, look at this. We could work on it together because I live here in New Mexico and it's just a New Mexico hunt. And sure. So she went down to the bookstore and she got a book, and Forrest happened to be there autographing books, and there was 6 people there. So she talked to him a little bit and sent me the book, and I read the book, and we started looking at places on the maps. And eventually, within about a month, because I think we got it in February, the book didn't come till February, it was on back order. And she got up there when there was still snow on the ground, but she got so sick from the altitude that she could only look at a few places, and she looked at her places and not the places that I wanted checked. But I don't blame her. I mean, they were really sick from not stopping for a day and getting acclimated. And that really, I mean, that was kind of a disaster. And now this next time we approached it differently. Now present day, for the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 months, I've been involved in it again. And I sent her on a photographic and video expedition to make record of this area, see what it looks like, see if it's possible for everything to fit together. How does this look from the ground, not from Google Earth? And she just spent 2 days taking pictures of everything. And then I would say, oh, did you look there in that spot in that picture? Yeah, there's nothing there. But we compiled a really good database to pull from different places to actually go boots on the ground and check these spots off our list. Mm-hmm. This place, this spot, 90 degrees this way, 2 feet over this way, to really try and pinpoint a location, because there's just so much stuff in a forest, mm-hmm. Yep. So many places for something to be obfuscated that we really wanted to narrow it down. So that in the course of doing that, I found a spot that I really, if I had $1 million, I'd just go fly there and just check and come back. But since I'm in Indiana, that's not a real good idea, especially this time of year. But yeah, that's
okay.
My experience.
Well, so for me, it's going to be a little bit different. So I think 4 years ago is when I started. I had what are you people thinking? I figured it out in 2 weeks. I was going boots on the ground. You silly searchers. I was going to get it. And it was actually with somebody else who asked me to come along. I'm like, oh, that's all totally makes sense. We went, Okay, Ojo Caliente. It was his fishing hole. It's his watering hole. It's his bathing hole. Yeah, didn't find it. And then, so that was like the crash and burn. And I've done that a couple times. So this year for me was a lot of recon because this last year it was function in the junction to do some recon because now I've been in 3 search states. Colorado's the only one, and I tried for a couple months to really focus on Colorado, WWWH. And hello, Toby. Toby's in the house. And so I really wanted to focus on how do I do a restart for this year. And I think Forrest focused on some things between scrapbooks and things he said. And it kind of made me really focus on the poem. I do have to say, getting a new search partner, Mike, I have never met an individual that I have loved so much that thinks so differently than anything that I think of. I think of myself very linear and logical until I met Mike. I'm the imaginative one. And so we've had a great time kind of bantering about on different things. So for me, this year was different. I really had to take in what's different. How can I solve this in a different way? Because what I'm doing is not working. I'm doing WWWH, and then I'm finding the Canyon, and then I'm doing, what is it that I'm missing? And so that's what I really focused on is what are we missing? So I really focused on a lot of the social media. I focused on the blogs that we do for entertainment, but I kind of sifted through the other stuff and tried to get to different unique thought processes more than the actual the individual location. So that was this last year for me. Okay, so now let's turn to, we've now crashed and burned or walk of shame or whatever you want to call it. We've gotten to the search season and we don't have that pretty box that has all that treasure in it. So the off season, what does that look like for you? Forrest, I think through Dale has already said he's going to put out a ton of scrapbooks. I think he's going to be more active than normal. I believe we're going to see a couple of media outlets put out some things like, okay, so let me go back for a second. I have a search partner that quit the search at the year after, my family member, the year after we searched together. He checks in with me and just says, give me the lay of the land. And that was actually today. And I said, did you ever hear him say something like, Terry Scant, that means get the hell out of there. That doesn't mean it's a hint or clue. And I actually gave him the exact quote. But I said, this is how you interpret that. He goes, gosh, he's never given out anything like that. And I've given a couple of other examples. It seems like he is really focusing on giving us a little bit more of either a nudge or something. I just went
Clarity.
Yeah, but 3 or 4 years ago, he was saying simplify. Now he's saying Terry Scant means get the hell out of there. It's like, he's like saying it like Dumbo. Not that he would ever say that because he's too kind. But he's kind of saying, can I say it any more clearly? And my old search partner, family member was like, he's never done that. Yeah, I check with you every couple of months, maybe a year. I'm like, I know. This is like something new. So this was for me, the transition year of, are we going to get something in the off season? He's already said he's going to be active. I'm like, I like to check.
10-year anniversary.
10 years. So yeah, wake up people. This is like something to say, okay, there's something there. So that was last year for me. Something's coming. I might be wrong, and gosh knows I'm wrong all the time. All of us are. I don't care how many of you think you're the lead searcher. You're wrong. And so, I mean, somebody is, but all of you but one are wrong. So the chances are better hitting the lottery. So what do we, now we've crashed. We're still October, but we're almost November. What is the off season? What is the off season for you? I've already had plenty of friends say, this is where I bow out and I come back in February or March. Usually it's Feb 4 because it gets so ugly. People are so upset, disappointed, this, that, the other. But some people are saying, no, this one's different because I feel like stuff's going to come out. I feel like I can restart. I feel energized. And they're actually really positive. That may be different.
Can we talk about the elephant in the room?
Sure.
A little bit in a general manner.
No, you know what, Sassy?
People are being dicks, and I'm getting sick of it.
Okay, monetization will be lost. They are being jerks.
Yes, jerks.
Okay.
Listen, we're all in this together. Nobody's better than anybody else. And to go around and try and get a consensus against another YouTuber or against another searcher, or, what is that for?
Well, let me play devil's advocate.
Ban so-and-so and let's ban so-and-so. You know what? When people start banning people, I'm out, because it's just like politics. You're just all a bunch of
people. Beep, 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 beep. But here's what I want.
Everybody has one. Yeah.
But here, let me play the other side of that, because I actually think this is an important part. That, I'll say hate or negative, has been there. In previous years, it was for Forrest. I think human nature is always going to have the negative. I'm actually a little prideful that we've gotten it off of Forrest. There's enough of us.
Well, true, but I'm still really disappointed in people that proclaim or are in it for, or are in a way kind of extremely visible and leaders in the community, setting such a horrible, trashy example.
But we are in a new day, that there is peace on earth. I don't know if you saw, and for those of you that
peace yet when I'm still banned from places.
I know, and I know your particular situation. We've never talked about it. I know your particular situation, but I will say, I think those of you know, last week, a few of us tubers that have had some significant issues came together, and we actually, I don't know, broke some bread, tried to say we're going to have our differences. We're not going to say that we're not. Let's try to figure out a way, because there was a lot of things happening behind the scenes. Mike still does not have his channel back. He is trying to get it back at this point because of some of the complaints, legal thefts, all that. So there has been a lot happening. I know exactly what you're saying, Sassy, but here's the positive, two positives that I'm going to say, and I don't want to go down this rabbit hole too far. But one, the negative has been there every year. I thought...
and it was in the David Blaine hunt as well. The same kind of drama went on.
But the second thing is, the whole reason I started Thor, and Thor now has 100 posts a day, is because the main forum was so horrible and vicious to Forrest. I hated seeing the guy that put this together. They were attacking him. And of course, he's not going to get in the forums and all that. I hated it so much. I started a forum. You guys know how technology savvy I am. I started a forum. So we got out of that. And now there's a place that people can go and put their actual search thoughts, not their personal opinions about Forrest or his personal things. I think we got off track because then searchers went after searchers this last year. But I think we're in a new day. We're in a new day. We're not totally cleaned up. And I think we still need to clean up some things, and we're going to work. Oh no, William, I will not say that word. That word is like cursing. We'll lose monetization. It will never happen. And people need to stay away from the places that are hateful. And that's my opinion. Okay, so we're getting away from that though. We're not gonna go there, because this year is not going to be about all.
Well, I wanted to get it out of the way, because we need to get that out of the way, out of our minds, out of our hearts, in order to focus on where it is we're going to go the minute that breakthrough comes, whether it's from Forrest or from our own work. And playing around with drama for the next 4 months is just not going to help.
That is true. And that is why I think that there's all sides that came together, not all sides, but particular sides that really came together to say, let's at least there was one large leap for mankind on this last week. There was many hours that were spent, discussions. I can't tell you how many emails. And I do have to say, everybody seemed really genuine and just, let's give it a rest. We're still right. We're still we're feeling okay, but let's try to go a different direction. And I'm hopeful. No matter what happens, I'm hopeful, because anytime you hit the restart button, could it get worse? And God knows I say that sometimes and I regret it. I don't think it can. So we're going to be hopeful that there is peace on earth. There's peace on earth, Sassy. So, but let's look at it from
a lot younger than I am, and I therefore am not as naive to believe that.
I'm naive. And you know what? I'll be naive every day and twice on Tuesdays. I'll be naive.
Can I just say, as someone who entered the search for the first time this season, I want to say I do feel for you, Sassy, because I'm a part of maybe 6 Facebook groups. And so I see a lot of the conversations, and obviously, you know, I don't necessarily always engage in stuff. So I understand the frustration, but I wanted to say, Christy, that I think that it is fantastic what y'all did, because as a searcher that was just kind of standing by and watching, that was a great lifting of spirits for like a neutral searcher going into the off season, knowing that, hey, everyone is going to be working on new content and stuff like that, and we can kind of put that to the side. Although I do understand absolutely why it is so frustrating, because I think y'all are great. And I honestly thought it got so ridiculous at one point. I actually thought it was like a strategy for a group of people, like, let's get them really riled up and distracted.
I did too.
But that being said,
Well
like,
said, Terry.
like K-Pro mentioned, I think it's great to move forward right now going into the off season with a fresh slate of positivity. And that way we can talk about, you know, really getting this thing found, because I don't know, I don't like to necessarily get off topic, but I'm sure if y'all are familiar with other treasure hunts, y'all saw that the third cast from The Secret was found recently.
Yeah,
and everyone, at least everyone that I know that maybe wasn't as invested in Boston, was so excited. It's like, it's awesome to see, especially after 37 years, something successful come out of something that you've been working on, like the hunt. So although I'm not gonna lie, I don't think there will be peace when the forest treasure is found. I don't know. I like to think that I would be happy for whoever finds it.
Well, I will say, unfortunately, even though the secret hunt is much less, the exact same thing is happening in that hunt. Unfortunately,
yes.
If you
I haven't even read it.
I know, and so okay, we're putting that in the past. We're going to focus, and I want to go to Jana. So, what does this off season look like for you? What are you going to? Do you focus on an area? This is where I go, do I restart in a whole different area? Do I not restart in a whole different area? Do I look at something different? Do I email Forrest 62 times until he tells me what I did wrong? What is your first step? Do I like smash the wall? Yes. Do I print out? What do I do different that I didn't do last year? How do you make something different? So she has a lot of reading material, friends. A lot of reading material. So what is your process? Because I do have to say, the off season hits us all hard. So for a vet, you're a vet. What does this off season look like to you that you could focus on? And here's the second question. So I'm going to put two questions out. And I know I was kidding, Tom Sawyer. Do not email Forrest 62 times. He only emails me 62 times a day. And Forrest, you know, I really appreciate it, but you need to move on to other searches as well. I'm totally kidding. Here's the other thing. What are you going to focus on? And if you were to ask Forrest one question that he would just answer, not like, what's your WWWH? What's that one thing that puzzles you? Like, I have to tell you, mine is, why 2 parking lots, Douglas Preston? Why? But what is yours? So, Jana, let's start with you, and then we'll go around the room.
Okay. So I thought when I was done with Boots on the Ground this last couple months ago that I literally came home, took all my papers and just put them on the bookshelf, and not out of any frustration. I just utilized all the ideas that I had come up with, all the different places. And I thought, okay, I can actually get back to some normalcy for a little bit. I gave it about 3 days, maybe 4. And I was literally back into the thrill of the chase, back into ideas and studying and figuring things out. And Fenn, you know, Forrest, he had his dad who, you know, his dad who was a principal and taught him things. And I guess when I've been learning, like I'll see something in the book and I'll go look it up, and the meaning of it actually has made me think, you know, I was paying attention in school, but I feel like I wasn't really learning, or I wasn't really taught the way that I should have been taught in school. So I guess I've just come down to, you know, learning about Shakespeare, learning about Newton all over again, you know, the whole back and forth. You read certain things in the book and he'll say it until he's blue in the face in certain scrapbooks, and things are duplicated in the book and they mean something. So I'm going to be spending the rest of my winter by a fireplace, hopefully with my, you know, hot chocolate, coffee, or bourbon, and just reading and going through the book and figuring it all out.
So you're going to stay in your same general area or not?
Here's the thing. So my heart is in a specific area that I didn't just pick this area. Things that I saw literally brought me to an area. And so then anytime I try to, even yesterday, I tried to branch off into a different area just to try to figure a few things out. But it keeps bringing me back to where I was. I try really hard to get out of there, and you know, it's my number one, but I don't discount other areas just in case, because I've learned that in my own hunting here in Minnesota, that, you know, you can be given 7 or 8 clues, and clues here are different. They're like 1 a day, and they get you to a location, and then you search and you figure out where in that location it might be. Forrest gives you all 9 right there, and all the hints get you to the area, but the clues take you in a path. So it's different than what I'm used to here. But when I've hunted here, I can get to an area, be so solid on it, and then clue 9, 10, and 11 technically would take you to a different location or a different park. So
clues with Forrest, clues are solid. Clues are in the poem. Hints are not. Hints are up for your interpretation of what a hint is.
Okay, well, now let me go back to...
Got a little message that says hint, green, black, red. No, nobody's saying that. You just have to like figure it out.
Well, see, I see clues as 9 discrete places in the poem, and then hints is everything else in the kitchen sink. But Jana, let me go back. One question for Forrest Fenn. He has to answer. Has to, but it can't be like, what is Homer Brown, or what is WWW? What would be, or what is your state? Like nothing too specific. What would be that one thing that just puzzles you that you want to say, help me with this because it would help me find that twinkle star, the right twinkle star. I'm going with Sassy's twinkle star. What's that one? And I can come back to you if you want to think about it.
I have part of it, so yes, please come back to me.
Okay, Sassy, you're up. And then over to Terry.
What was the question?
The question is, what are you going to do in this off season? And what's that one question that if Forrest Fenn just would answer that just puzzles you? It's not a specific clue, but it's just what puzzles you. What would he answer for you?
What I'm going to do in the off season is I have a brand new grandson. He was just born October 9th. He was 3 weeks premature, but he's doing really good. And so my son and daughter-in-law previously last year at Christmas time lost their first son. So this is kind of a time of family pulling together, and that's first. And the hunt is behind that. And, you know, I just want to remind people that there is life outside of Forrest Fenn hunts. And the holidays are coming up and family is important, and have a good balance, you know, just like with wine, you need to balance it all out. I actually have a location that the minute it's feasible, I'm going to have somebody go check out. Nice. It unfortunately happened just in the last week, and now the weather turned bad. So I'm just going to sit tight and play around and focus, yes, but not obsess over it. There's more to life. What I want Forrest to answer is I really want to know why the Rocky Mountains. I want to know why he made that leap from it's right up here in the hills to somewhere in the Rocky Mountains.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, Terry, over to you. So what is this? You're the person, this is your first off season. You're going to see the first crash, the first craziness. If you thought it's crazy now, woo! And so what do you see for your off season? What are you going to be doing? And then Forrest, he has said to you, I'll answer anything you want, Terry, just for you, but it can't be a clue. What would you ask? What are you like? God, this puzzles me. What would you ask?
Okay, so I guess to start with the off season, obviously I'm not going to be traveling up. I'm from Texas. I cannot handle the cold. I'm not going to be traveling up to search during the winter. So I actually am going to spend pretty much a lot of my free time just going back through the poem. And then, I mean, this sounds so basic, but I really want to start going back through just the book and finding if he mentioned specific words. For example, this is a clue I told myself I'm not going to ever talk about online, but it's something that's really stuck out to me, in that I want to say, and I could be wrong, I need to actually spend time doing so. The first time that he mentions the color brown in the book, or one of the main times, was when he's talking about the rust from the railing, the iron rust. And so I'm like, well, maybe home of brown could be like a source of brown, like something involving iron or rust. And so just finding things like that I think could maybe tie the book to the poem, and just literally coming up with a bunch of new search terms to search my maps. That being said, I definitely want to have some solves going into the search season. I want to be able to actually go confidently, boots on the ground. But I'm really struggling right now, because in the thrill of the chase, it sounds like he really, was just like middle finger to education and to his schooling, especially, in his Spanish class. He talks about how he would literally escape Spanish class. So with him living in Santa Fe and the treasure being hidden in the Rocky Mountains, there are lots of terms or names of places that are Spanish. So I'm like, would he include a place that incorporates a Spanish name as a kind of a joke? I don't know. Or would he completely avoid it? And the hint was that he wanted us to pay attention to how much he hated Spanish. So don't go anywhere near places with Spanish names. So I would want to ask him that. I don't think he would answer that. But it makes me think, because, he also mentions how much he hated like classic literature, except for Catcher in the Rye, and yet he goes and he writes a poem. He writes a poem for us. Like, why did we need that structure of, he could have just, I don't know, released hints or clues, but he gave us a poem, which to me is just so funny, because he obviously, had this disdain for reading in the book. So I don't know. I would try to get a better grasp on how he actually felt about his education. So
Okay, interesting.
if that makes sense.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
yeah. I really would like him to. It's not that I don't believe him, but I just think that he is really thought through after he passes. When he says, like, with the last times that I am on this earth, I think 90 is a milestone, and he's going to be focusing on what does he want his last year, couple years, maybe decade. But I think he's going to be hitting home to that. And if he does, what does this search look like after he's gone? I do believe, even though he says, it's my legacy, I've already thought of everything, I think he does more than that. So
He
what
wants us to find it before he goes. You know that.
What she said.
Anybody who, oh, come on.
Well,
Hence no taking breaks. Hence reading through scrapbooks. It's all in there. Everybody's waiting for this big, I can't take a break because we're waiting for this big aha moment or something. But he's giving it to us. Every scrapbook, every single thing.
I think he's saying, hello.
Yeah, hello.
Yeah.
But I think he's building up to it. I don't think it's there yet. I don't think
it's there.
The big blockbusters there. Not yet. But I think he's going to feed us over this drought during the weather break, so that people can hit it hard come spring, because I think he wants it found. He's not getting any younger. It's the 10th anniversary. Wouldn't that be a great 90th birthday present for him?
I still think he's feeling young.
Yeah.
Is it all right? I can throw in my question for Fenn?
Yes,
all right.
please.
All right. All right, Forrest. I love your yarns, your stories. I absolutely love those. I'm wondering if you consider yourself a deduction reasoner or an induction reasoner. I actually think you're an induction reasoner. I'm falling down the same, I've learned something about myself that I consider myself an induction reasoner. So I guess that would probably be my question for you. And then also something that I wanted to know that's kind of odd. Do you have a favorite marble? And do you still have your
Aw.
marbles from when you were a
Hmm.
kid?
Huh.
I was reading it and thinking about it, and I was learning about marbles and playing, and I'm like, even though I have a different take on what that actually means, do you still
I
have
bet
one?
it's an Aggie. The Aggie Popo.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I don't have a lot
Okay,
of toys from when I was a
do y'all
kid.
think he purposefully mispronounces that though? Because okay,
Yeah, it's like,
I always wonder. I was like, he seems to be, love it, but like I thought it would be pretty obvious.
my
I mean, he
dad
has to have heard other
does
people
that.
pronounce it.
My dad would call like a eucalyptus tree a eucalyptus. I mean, he knows the difference. Just being,
Yeah. Okay.
he's a storyteller.
Yes. Okay. And somebody made reference to RF Hecky. RF Hecky is doing good, and she's just needing some time away, like we all do. Just like Mike's not on the panel tonight. I mean, how do we get by without Michael for an entire night? I know I can't. So everybody needs to take a step away. And somebody said, I think it was Jana, sometimes you need to just step away for a hot second. If that hot second's, no, it wasn't. Maybe it was Terry. I don't know. It was somebody else. If you need that little bit of time, it's great. Here's what I do. I jump from content research, hardcore research, librarians, get me data to, oh, I'm going to go chit chat with people. I'm going to the chat room. I'm going to have a good time. That's my on and off, but I kind of pretty much stay on or I jump to a different hunt. The Secret, I went boots on the ground for The Secret. That was the one I thought I got, but I didn't. And so that's the one for me. So, Forrest, I don't know what I would ask you. There's like, what's the thing that we're missing? Like 400,000. He was recently recorded saying 400,000 searches have been out there. There's something that we're all missing. Like what? Give us not like it is this, but give us some general ideas, not use more imagination or something, but something specific that tells us kind of like Terry Scant. It's literal. Terry Scant, you pick it up, you run. Damn it. I felt like he was saying like give us something like that. I think that one was huge. That one was really big. I think that's something that Forrest hasn't done, at least recently in the last few years. And like ruling out of state and that sort of thing. And oh yeah, because we have this running joke. Hey Forrest, if you wanted to rule out of state, it wouldn't upset me at all. That's it. Yeah. Does the panel think that marbles comes into play, so to speak, in figuring out the clues? Lisa Smith says. Okay, Janice says yes. I say no.
Yes.
What do you say,
For
Terry?
my
You're the
current
tiebreaker.
solve, no.
Okay.
For my current solve, no.
It's a big fat no.
Well, and for me, I don't rule out anything, but I will say in any of my solves, I've had, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 solves. They haven't up to this point, but that doesn't mean they won't in a hot second. They just.
No, I just think it's one of those peripheral things that pops up now and again, and yeah, it's a part of anybody's childhood, so why wouldn't it?
Silver Fox, you're not banned. We can see you. I don't know if people are ignoring you, but no, you're not banned. There's only been one, and I dare him to come back. I can only put people in timeout in the middle, so just don't get personal. Other than that, no, we're all good. You can say something silly, or you can say, and the room gets to decide.
I do think in the book that it's not necessarily the marbles. It is the marbles to me too, but it's the way that the picture is. That it's not necessarily when you play marbles, you play them in a circle, and he's got it elliptical. That's all.
I think it's bad perspective. There's a lot of bad perspective in that particular artist's renditions of things.
Do you think page 99 is the only illustration that was not commissioned by all the other illustrations? Do you think 99 has a significant
No.
reason that it's in there? Significance to the solve?
No, I think they needed something quick to put in there. I've been in that place before,
Okay.
doing editing and artwork, and oh crap, we had an illustrator draw up everything, and I've got one little spot. Now I need to recreate as close as I can to their style of artwork to fill that one spot, or I have to go back and do a contract with the illustrator again. So yeah, I'm just saying it's not an unusual scenario.
Yeah.
To go.
Okay.
Weirdly enough, the 99, it looks like that cipher to me, but I don't know which one it is, but it just does. Other than that, I don't really get much out of 99. Other people do, and I just haven't yet.
at the same point, what was it that made him decide if they had not commissioned that artist to do that? What was it that was so important that it needed an illustration there?
Mm-hmm.
It could have been done already and he liked it and it meant something that he needed it to be in the book and he
Exactly.
just
He wanted
decided to put it in.
Right, exactly. It could have been the prototype originally that he showed to this other artist and said, hey, can you draw like this guy? I mean, there's a lot of different reasons it could be. It's yet again an operation, and you just got to hold on to it, and if it comes in handy to use later, then go for it. I don't think it's a big screaming deal, but I definitely think it's something to make note of.
Okay, so we're going to go around the room as a final because we're a little bit over tonight, but I knew we would be with 4 of us here. So what is your parting thoughts, thing that you might say to Forrest, like in the off season? Here's what you need to give us, Forrest Fenn. No. Yeah, I mean, he doesn't need to give us anything. I personally will say I feel a lot of gratitude that he is engaging with the community. I do believe he helped and negotiated a lot of positivity going into I can tell you from personal knowledge in this last week, he did spend a lot of time making sure that there's some groups and factions that came together. I am very appreciative of that. This is the first time I've seen him get involved in that level. And so I knew it was pretty bad if he was getting involved at that level. And so I think this is an exciting year, I think, at least for me, because I don't know. And I have never said this. I feel like this year is going to be different. I don't know if this year is going to be different. It's going to be solved because everybody says that every year, or just there's going to be a difference in Forrest. And it's so exciting. Just what we've seen, the Terry Scant one, a couple of the other quotes and things, when he put his finger on a map and then he went around Baker's Hole and then he said, this is where his swimming hole, 1/8 of a mile. I just feel like he's saying, come on, smash head. Like, I just feel it's going to be a really fun year. If we hang on.
He's already shifted.
Yeah.
Emotionally.
Yeah. So, okay, Jana, what do you think? What is your parting thoughts on everything we talked about? Scrapbooks, going into this next year, this last year, where are we going? What do you do in the off season? Kind of give us your encapsulated summary or thoughts for this evening.
I think that personally for me, I'm going to still be, I always feel like I'm constantly learning something, even when I feel like I've hit that level where I feel like I've learned enough. So yes, I'm taking time for family as well, but at the same time, even when I'm driving in my car or, putting lights on the Christmas tree or whatever, something jumps out at me. And I mean, I don't know what to tell you. It's just a lot of, I don't feel like I learned a lot that I guess I don't feel like I learned things that I should have when I was younger. And people say, oh, you don't need books and stuff to, besides Thrill of the Chase. But if you don't know what he's saying in Thrill of the Chase, then you need to teach yourself what he's saying in Thrill of the Chase. So that's kind of where I'm getting to with learning about Newton or Shakespeare, other people that he talks about, or the way he says a sentence are similar to what other people have already said. He just says it a different way. He's taking words from a lot of different people from the past. So why is he doing that? And that's what it comes down to. When you see something that jumps out at you in the book, you got to take it to the he doesn't usually, if he says more than one thing, if he says it 2 or 3 times, then those are the times where it doesn't become coincidence anymore. So just keep looking, just keep reading it. Enjoy those stories. I mean, I don't know.
He does kind of have a few set stories that are part of his shtick that just.
Mm-hmm. But it means there's
sometimes
certain words. Look them up.
The shtick from what actually, the content of the story is.
I've noticed that even though you can take one story about one thing, say it's a banana, and he's constantly talking about this banana. Well, if you think how do I explain this? Where you think the answer is orange, there's got to be a way to, because when he tells a story to get to orange, the answer is probably still banana. I don't know how to explain that. Right. He explained to me once before, but you have to.
No, I get it, because fruit and you went for banana or you went for orange and he's going for banana, and
Yeah, it's. I'll probably be able to explain that one another
Still
time.
in the same area. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Over to you, Terry.
Sorry, I was reading the
I know
comment
it's
section. I just
going.
got
People are like,
distracted.
I want to put my opinion in. I'm like, okay, go ahead, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. The chat
Well,
room's gone wild.
what was the question? Just like parting comments? And
Yeah.
then
Parting
what we're
comments.
gonna
What
be
do you
doing
think
over that
about
off season.
Scrapbooks this next season? Where are you going to go? Kind of encapsulate kind of our last hour talk.
Yeah. I mean, I really like what Janice said about if he starts to mention things more than once, you kind of have to look at it as he's trying to point us in a certain direction. But I also recently interviewed the Cody, Wyoming interview, and I mean, such a contrast in the way that he spoke then and then after the book was released. So it really makes you think, like maybe he has his set like routine of how he talks about certain stories because he doesn't want to give away too much information, or he doesn't want to accidentally say something, so he just sticks to the script. So just kind of thinking about going back and analyzing all that. I'm really just going to be a complete student this break and just really try to document everything. I'm going to have lots of notes. I say everything of the book and the poem, and then maybe anytime he might refer back to those in interviews. So just really trying to document and get a fresh look. I'm not going to sit there. I've spent a lot of time recently really searching on Google Earth the areas that I think might be significant, to try to find the keywords and the names of these places. And I'm just going to put the Google Earth to the side for now and try to really focus on the poem.
Okay.
Put the internet to the side. People say you don't need books, but I've been getting over to the library. There's a lot that you can learn at the library that you're not learning online. And some of the ways that he's talking so philosophically, I wouldn't have gotten by just looking at things online. YouTube has been helpful, but a lot of books, a lot of reading.
Yeah. What do you think, Sassy?
Well, the one thing I want to accomplish during this down season is something that you and I've been tossing back and forth a little here. That's running some analysis on the book and the poem. And we've talked about specific different types of physical character reference analysis to try and break down patterns, basically, and see if any of that helps. Does anything stand out when you do that? Not that I think it might not, who knows, but it's a different, looking at it from a different angle. And it's something that I'd love to do and share it with everybody and say, here's the stats on the poem and the book. And one of the big reasons for this is, I don't know if you guys know what cryptograms are. They're basically the substitution cipher, where you look in the newspaper and it says QRZ, YSL, and then you have to replace those letters, right? Well, there's frequency letters that are used more frequent than others, and different things like that to solve those kinds of puzzles. Not that I think that there's any cryptogram in there, but are there any words that are used more, nouns that are used more frequently than others? So I'd like to actually spend some time just doing some data entry, getting it in, and running some analysis that way.
So you and Mike have been talking. So even though Mike's not on the panel, like Mike,
I haven't said too much to him, but I've mostly shared it with you. But yeah, just kind of do some left brain work at this for a little while, and
Sherry, I agree with you. I did do some of that, and when I started doing that, I ended up with, I didn't do it online. I mean, I didn't type it into a database. I literally was writing things down, and I would find page after page with saying the same things, scrapbook after scrapbook saying the same things, and my writing just got to be overwhelming, and that at some point you just kind of,
Yeah.
now that notebook is there, but I stopped adding to it. When it gets to it, it's like, okay, now that you've got all this information, now what? Now
True,
what do you do?
but I've noticed some particular patterns in the book without running an analysis. Just my own brain is like, oh, there's that word again. Why is it being used here? It's kind of an aberration that it's here. I also want to really dig into some of the aberrations and actually start a list of them, because we all talk about them and some of them we all repeat. But I'd like to get sometimes when you line them up on paper and look at them side to side, you're like, oh, Olga's tea and the 36-inch bathtub. And then we have this one over here. You can sometimes see a pattern. But I'd like to actually do that and then share it with everybody and see what people think. Just for kicks and giggles and whatever. I think it might just get us to look at things. We got the time.
It's a
That's
big
the
job.
Let's look at it from a different angle and just, shake the box and see what comes out.
You're going to find a lot of stars.
Yeah. Twinkles.
A lot of twinkles.
Yeah. Well, and I think I try to say I'm going to dig into one thing I've never dug into before. Like, I have to tell you, I did about 2 months on the periodic table. And amazing coincidences. That's what I put them now. But at the time, I was like, oh. There's one thing that I try to do in the off season that I say, okay, I'm going to dig into that at a level that nobody else has, that I really want to, or nobody else publicly has. And I really want to focus on it. And that kind of helps me get through the off season, because those of you that have not been through the off season, it sucks. It's terrible. You see the grumpiness, and when there's grumpiness, it's kind of like on Harry Potter when he wears that necklace and the necklace makes him grumpy. When there's searchers around you grumpy, it's going to make you grumpy. Even though there's peace on earth right now, there's peace on earth. I think we're going to get grumpy because it's just the function. Feb 4, and Forrest said the last Feb 4 might be his last, may be his last. He didn't say for sure. He's also said he was going to step back 3 times. And how many scrapbooks have we had? So I think we're going to see an active off
What
season.
did you say, Feb 4? What's a Feb 4?
Feb 4 is the 6 questions that Jenny does on February 4th every single year, that he answers the 6 questions. This is the one that he said years ago, how many clues, how close has somebody gotten. We call it Feb 4 on the forums. I know you're maybe a Facebook. I don't see you as much on the forums. The forums, we call it Feb 4.
He wasn't going to do that anymore.
No, he said he may. He may not do it anymore.
Okay.
He's also said that he was going to step back. Do we see him stepping back? How many scrapbooks are just popping out of that? He went and had chili, and he had to tell us about it. Come on, because Coney Island has chili dogs.
Maybe that's his way of cute. Maybe that's his way though of saying that that whole 85-15 thing. I can't always tell the truth, but I have the right to take it back
Change my mind anytime.
my mind.
Yeah. And so I think that's what we love.
He's going to answer something, then he says, "Okay, I'll answer that. How deep is a hole?"
Mm-hmm.
Please, Forrest.
Well, maybe it's hole in the wall.
I think we're going to see
maybe
some.
it's Brown's hole.
Yeah,
Who
he
knows?
rules out Utah and Idaho. Otherwise, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're going to see some fun. This is the last.
I do too.
I just think it's going to be a fun season. I think this is the one that we say, okay, this is going to be a fun time. And you know what? That's when we have to kind of hit restart, and I love it. And it's going to be awesome. So
I want to urge everybody, during this holiday season to spend some time with your family. Play Chaseopoly with your family.
I will tell you, on Thursday night, you guys will see a picture. It's going to go up on Thor. I'll probably put it up here. My son and I, we usually do a family Halloween set of costumes. My son and I were the only 2 into it this year. We are doing a very imaginative Forrest Fenn theme. We're not doing treasure hunters.
Aww.
We are going to be chapters from the book or words from the book.
That's so cute.
You guys are going to see, and you probably won't see his face, but you will see the picture of him, because he was like, I know exactly what I want to be. I could give you 1,000 guesses. I was shocked. He's like, this is what I want to be and why. And I'm like, how do you know Forrest words? That's not even in TTOTC. He's like, oh no, but it's in one of the sets of words. I'm like, Oh my gosh, you
He's
know
been
this.
reading.
Yes. And so I went and got my I said, if you're going Forrest Fenn theme, I'm going Forrest Fenn theme. And we have our Forrest Fenn theme. So you guys are going to see they're not treasure hunters. We're a lot more imaginative than that. So I'm passing out candy and he's going trick-or-treating with his sister. It's going to be fun. So just wait until you see those pictures because you're going to go, you guys are way too much in the Kool-Aid of Forrest Fenn when you are dressing up as a family. But that's the fun. That's what I wanted to get with what Sassy said. And I can't tell you how many discussions I've had with searchers. So just keep it positive, keep it fun. Lisa Smith, no, I'm not going to be naked. What are you talking about? No. My
That's a good one.
God.
Are we going to be able to play Chaseopoly live?
Strip chase
Or
Oakley?
the Detroit meetup?
So that would be a question for Mike Cowling, and Mike is not here in the room. If Mike answers, I will tell. I would hope so.
Stay tuned.
They will not. I don't believe they will be in, but we put one on eBay, but we still have one. If Mike does not arrive in Detroit with it, I will be shocked. And so we brought it though to the Las Vegas meetup, and everybody wanted to see the things, and they were looking at each, but they didn't want to play it. And I'm like, guys,
I want to play it. I want to totally play it, and we have to have, like, if you land on the equivalent of community chest or
hints
whatever,
and clues rather than
you
chase.
Make a drinking game out of it. You know, every time you pass go, take a drink. I don't know. Monopoly goes faster when you consume alcohol while playing.
Well, there's also the time limit version on the World Series of Fenn, which is February 14th, 15th, Valentine's Day weekend, and President's Day weekend. We are going to do a limited time version of Chaseopoly. So it's like, I don't know if it'll be an hour or an hour and a half, something short, but it's whoever has the most money. I don't know. We're going to do a truncated version exactly for that reason. But for someone who, like Mike doesn't drink, and I may consume alcohol every now and then. Mike would be on the floor if we did that. So that we have to remember all sides of people.
Sure.
So we're the two
Some
extremes.
people have strategies for Monopoly type games, and some people don't. So yeah, I can see how there could be an advantage or two.
Yeah. Okay, so I do want to do a shout out. The Detroit meetup is coming up. November
23rd.
I know, I'm looking at it right now. Hold on. It is Saturday the 4th at Leo's Coney Island. And those of you that don't know,
24th.
Hold on. October, November 23rd is the Saturday.
23rd. That's
23rd. It is the weekend before Thanksgiving. 4 o'clock at Leo's Coney Island on Van Dyke and between 13th and 14th. It will be a blast. We have probably 5 or 6 right now interested. Sassy's going to be there. That is the reason right there. Show up because Sassy is going to be there. And then, yeah.
We're supposed to get snow, but I found out that I can take a Greyhound for $25. I'm
no
like,
snow.
Yeah, okay. No, let the bus deal with the snow.
That is just a nasty rumor. There is going to be no snow because I'm coming into town and I don't drive in snow.
Jana, do you have snow right now?
No.
Okay.
Leaves, lots of leaves.
We're supposed to get snow later on this week, so that the lake effect snow. So it'll hit her before it hits me. It comes down from Minnesota and then smacks me.
Yeah, so
it was 80 degrees today
in Texas.
Very hot.
Yeah, I think we were at 70 something plus 80% humidity. I gotta love the South.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if we got into 50 here.
Yeah.
I think it was high 40s.
Yeah.
But it's real crisp and great fall weather. But by the time Thanksgiving rolls around, I'm just gonna let the Greyhound bus driver deal with it. And
Nice. So it's going to be fun, and there will be, we are playing at the different casinos in case you're into poker. That will be fun as well. And then our next meetup will be at the World Series of Fenn. And we do have some different and interesting things. We have a lot of people. well, I'm just going to say it. She won't get mad. She never gets mad at me. Well, maybe. Cynthia Meacham is going to be there at the World
Yay.
Series of Fenn. So come in. We're going to get information out on the different hotels, the different places, since we are coming and have chosen a holiday weekend. The rooms will be a little bit more limited because of President's Day weekend, Valentine's Day weekend. But we're going to do a Chaseopoly event. We're going to do of course, the poker event. If you have some ideas of some specialized knowledge, specialized prizes that you want to donate, especially if you're an artist, please let us know. We may have a coin or two. We may have a Chaseopoly or two. You don't know. You don't know what we have in store. That'll come up over the off season just to make it fun. Get our minds off of, we didn't find it. We're going to find it. Now we need to wait for the snow to melt. And so I want to, yes.
I just want to say, you know, that February 14th weekend, if Mike's get any ideas, the little chapel on the Strip, you have to book 2 years in advance for a Valentine's Day ceremony.
Shame on you. Shame on you.
I couldn't resist. Sorry.
Oh, goodness gracious. Okay, so everybody, and I want to actually depart by saying thank you, Forrest Fenn, I'm having a blast. It's a great time. I've never learned so much about myself as I have in this chase. So everyone be good to each other. We are in a great place, I think, in this off season. And hey, if you haven't considered, partner up with somebody that you might not know, or maybe you do know, but try to think differently and maybe just get somebody's ideas, not exactly your solve, but just try to start collaborating a little bit and just discussing different thoughts and ideas. So we're going to start doing panels on this show when Mike gets his channel back. I hope it's not an if, it's a when. All that's been kind of negotiated and worked out. He might go a different direction with some non-live shows. I like the live shows and the panels because they're super fun. But Mike's old school vlogs are so awesome. I think he might be going kind of old school vlogs. So we're still working that out right now. So with every challenge comes opportunity. This allowed us. The biggest thing, though, if you would go and subscribe, this is kind of a new start. We had 300 subscribers in the first 24 hours of coming back. I'd like to keep that momentum going, and I want to say thank you. But we're nowhere near, Mike's channel, those channels. I want to try to grow the channel, as the magical treasure princess says. So,
And give us a thumbs up.
Thumbs up. Thumbs up. And if you want to do thumbs down, YouTube actually thinks of it the same, but we are in peace on earth. So thumbs up. So we like that. So, okay.
Oh, we lost Jana.
Yeah, we lost Jana. I knew we're way over. So I'm sorry.
Okay.
Okay. So thank you all. We are going to head out. Let's see if I know how to do this. Here we go. Good night, all.
Good night.
Bye.